Welcome back, everybody. We're on week 31, May 2nd to the 6th. It's the first week of May. May Day, May Day. Okay, all right. We thought, Mr. Miller and I were thinking, we're wrapping up trigonometry and we're not in a hurry, and we want to make sure that every student has all the skills to be successful, because someday when you get to Algebra 2, trigonometry is how we solve lots and lots of real-world problems, plus more advanced ones where these are the ground level skills that we need. So last week we gave you a solo activity and it had 8 problems. Okay, now a lot of you participated. Okay, there were 8 problems. Well, we thought, let's call last week's solo activity our final grade, the final assessment for trigonometry. So if you try every problem and demonstrate that you can use the vocabulary, the reference angle, the OPP, the adjacent, the hypotenuse, that you can set up the relationship, so, ka, toa. Each one might be different. You can calculate either an angle measure or a side length, depending on what the question asks. Then you get an A for the topic. All right, so we thought in class we have all these worksheets. We have all these real-world problems. And depending on the day, you may not have finished everything. So Mr. Miller is going to break the day into 2 pieces. One, where you're asking questions based on the sheet you have in front of you. And as a group, chant. We love class participation and count that towards your grade. Then there's these videos. I'm going to make part of it for today, the Monday, Tuesday, and part of it for the Wednesday, Thursday to help with each and every problem. Okay, so let's get started. All right, the solo activity. Back in class, we did all the evens. We asked you to do all the odds. So here's the expectation. Okay, in this video, we will help set up the problems, do some real-world problems, and make sure that you all have the skills and confidence needed to be successful with so, ka, toa, trigonometry. Okay, so let's get started. The very first thing is, you remember, we love partial credit. Read the directions. Calculate the tangent of the indicated angle in each triangle. Write your answer in simplest form. Okay, right off the bat, partial credit, tangent. What does tangent remind you of? Come on, what is tangent? Chant. Toa. What does toa stand for? The tangent. The tangent of the angle they're relating to, in this case it'll be B, is equal to the OPP over the ADJ. So, partial credit. If you did this, 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 and this, you automatically get partial credit. Let's go over to the problem itself and actually label the REF. What's across from the REF? The OPP. What's always across from the 90 degree? The HYP. Okay, and then next to, that vocabulary term, next to. I am next to the wall. The ADJ. Okay, so in this case, we're going to have the OPP, 3 radical 2 over the ADJ over 3 radical 2. Okay? Now, calculate the tangent. Calculate the tangent. It sounds like it's indicating to calculate. We're calculating. All we did was set it up. So to calculate, it might want you to find B. And last week we know how to find B now. B is the inverse tangent. B is the arctangent of the OPP over the ADJ. Okay, And when you're doing that, you got to turn your calculator on, and we need to make sure that we are in degree mode. And remember, second tan, there's the -1. That's the inverse, so that you can calculate that angle measure. Now look how much partial credit you could have got. We're getting points over here, we're getting points in here, and we're getting points in here. This took us 3 minutes just to do one problem, and there's 8 problems. Okay, we want you to try all 8. You don't have to get the same answer because you may read it differently than your neighbor. Okay, let's go to the second one. Okay, immediately we're talking about up here, and we're talking about the legs. The legs. We're not talking about the hypotenuse. So again, the directions were the tangent, the TOA, right? And then in this case, the tangent of C is equal to the OPP over the ADJ. Okay? Now, as we do this, we're going to have 32 over 40, right? We set it up, then we got to calculate. Now for bonus points, we could go even further. Okay? Bonus point. What is the hypotenuse? There's a measurement there. You could get that. If you know the 90 and you just calculated B, then you could calculate this angle for bonus, right? So keep that in mind. Each problem has extra bonus points for extra credit, okay? And for fun, I think I'm going to do this one. We know how to find the hypotenuse. And I'm going to use Pythagoras. Pythagoras said a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, I know this leg, right? One leg squared plus the other leg squared is equal to the hypotenuse squared. Okay, and in this case, 40 squared plus 32 squared equals the hypotenuse squared. Let's keep going. Hypotenuse squared, 40 times 40 is 1600. 32 times 32. 32, clear. 32 squared, 1024. And that's equal to the hypotenuse squared. We put these together, 2624 equals the hypotenuse squared. Well, we know how to undo a squared. What's the opposite of squared? How do we undo a squared? Take the square root. Take the square root. And remember, if you ever forget, plus is next to minus. Multiply next to divide. Tangent on top of the inverse tangent. Cosine on top of the inverse cosine. Sine on top of arc sine. Square root, squared. They're on top of each other. So let's go second square root. Now I'm going to show you a little trick. We know that this is what we're looking for, right? Here's a faster way to do this problem. Right here. You remember when we did this? We were taking the square root of both sides. When you're on your calculator, just go second square root, the leg, 40 squared, plus the other leg, 32 squared, all under the square root. See how you could save steps doing that? 5122. 51.22 is the hypotenuse. So if you're following in class and you put that into your notes, you'll get extra credit on that quiz problem. Okay? So we're 10 minutes plus the review time that Mr. Miller went. I'm going to do this next page now, and then on Wednesday, Thursday, we'll go over this page because there's 5 problems. No, 4, 1, 2, 3, there's 4 problems on this page to finish up that activity. Okay? All right. Now, this was weird because it talked about the cotangent. What was the cotangent? The indicated angle, and write the simplest form. Cotangent. Well, cotangent is tangent flipped upside down. Okay? So, the tangent of an angle is the OPP over the ADJ. So we can say cotangent of A is adjacent over the opposite. Okay? We flip it. We flip it. But rather than do that, watch this. Instead, let's find tangent and work backwards. What? What are you talking about, Monty? Okay, here's the reference. Here's the OPP. Here's the ADJ. So we're going to find the tangent of A is going to be the OPP over the ADJ, which is 8 over 6, right? 8 over 6. A is going to be the inverse tangent of 8 over 6. Now watch when we grab our calculator here. Second inverse tangent, 8 over 6 equals 5313. A is 53.13. Okay? So we're just going to make that 53 degrees. Well, if that's 53 and that's 90, 180 minus 53 minus 90, 180 minus 143, 37 degrees. 37 degrees. Well, if that's 37 degrees and this is 180 degrees, then we've solved all the indicated angles using the skills we had. There is another way that may save time, and it's called the cotangent of A equals the adjacent 6 over 8. Well then, you'll learn later on in math that cotangent is 1 over the tangent of A, which means 1 over the inverse, right? 1 over the inverse of A. So that's where we get, and flip it around, and then we calculate this, and then when we use our calculator, we got to go 1 divide by the tangent. Okay? So, rather than confuse folks, at the geometry level, we normally don't teach cotangent, cosecant, or secant. We just teach you to calculate all 3 ways. So now, you have the skills to set this one up, okay? Using tan, TOA, the tan of F equals the OPP over the ADJ. Set that up, right? The OPP, the ADJ, the HYP. Cool? Also, for bonus, right, you could calculate the hypotenuse. We already did the bonus that angle. There's a bonus angle, bonus hypotenuse, right? You can use Pythagoras, you could use trigonometry, right? Once we know this angle, then we could use the sine of this angle equals this over this, right? Lots of different ways. Okay, so we're 15 minutes into the video. Pause it and make sure that everyone in class has got those 4 problems done as much as possible. On Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to come back and do the final 4 problems. See you then.